Welcome.
Thank you. Hello.
So, a lot of our listeners, couple of jiu-jitsu guys, but most of them wouldn't be jiu-jitsu people at all.
Good stuff.
So, to explain who Ffion is, Ffion is the best female grappler, which is submission grappler, of our weight class on the planet. That's what we think. That's our humble opinion.
In your opinion, great, thank you.
and in our opinion, when a female comes into a room, sometimes she has to start looking. But if anything goes sideways in this room, Ffion is walking out, me and John are going unconscious. Me and John are going unconscious, so that's the level Ffion is at. She's going to be walking out here and we're going to be dead. That's true. That's what a way to start the podcast. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
So, you've won ADCC.
Silver at ADCC.
Sorry, silver and ADCC.
I'll pretend I won it.
I only kind of came across you from brown belt up.
Yeah, that's the only time I ever did anything decent.
You know, you kind of be, all right, and then I keep an eye on the jiu-jitsu scene in the UK, and that's where I first came across you. I listened to the Raspberry 8 podcast.
Yeah.
So I've seen you on that. That was about 2 years ago. And then when I kind of heard East Coast, I was like, I'm huge, and this is the route I'm going to go with this podcast. I'm a big believer. Have you ever read Joseph Campbell? You ever come across Joseph Campbell stuff? So Joseph Campbell wrote this book called A Hero with 1,000 Faces. And a lot of athletes' stories, life stories, a lot of people's, a lot of films have been played out this way. And what I'm going to ask you is, so you started off, your parents got you involved in judo.
Yeah.
So you started off doing judo and you were training away in the UK. And Joseph Campbell talks about this call to action. You know, normal people just go, yeah, I'm happy here in Wales and I'm submitting a few people and I'm winning a few local competitions. The call to action was then you moved across with Dara, training under Dara.
Yeah.
What led to that? And this is what we're going to start, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
What led to, like most people go, yeah, I would go there and it didn't work out. I didn't really like it, and go back with their tail between their legs. That's what happened. And not that there's anything wrong with that, because I was one of them people that tried and goes,
it's quite common in jiu-jitsu.
500 of you here and you're not that good and these are all better than you. So you just scamper home and you go, oh yeah, it wasn't for me, and speak a funny language. But that call to action for you, what started that and what progressed it?
So I started jiu-jitsu, but with MMA as well, mainly. Like, I just saw Ronda Rousey, and this guy in my school actually was doing MMA, and he'd won the Cage Warriors title.
Okay.
Brett Johns. He's in the UFC. He's gone to Bellator.
Savage.
He was in my brother's year in school,
right.
And in judo, you train at loads of different clubs, and I trained at his dad's club on one session a week, and you just travel around to get more sessions in. And I saw that he was doing MMA, and I was like, cool, like he used to do judo as well, so it makes sense, I'll give that a go. And I was just really falling out of love with judo. There's like a lot of rules. It's very restricted. Yeah. I didn't know that was the reason why I kind of fallen out of love with it, but now looking back, I can see that it's very restricted and stuff, and I like to learn and try and expand, and jiu-jitsu is basically everything in grappling, including judo.
It's kind of judo. I've experienced Yvonne's dad downstairs was a black belt. He used to compete for Ireland and go to world championships.
Oh, cool.
And he's high level, but I'll tell a different story about him, but it's kind of cliquey as well. Who goes on teams and very political.
Yeah, like I was part of the Welsh team, and not to call anyone out or anything straight away, but it was like there would be people who would win and wouldn't be on the British team somehow, and it just it was a bit weird. But not like for myself, but for other people who would do well. I was never that good. I was okay at judo, but I was like quite strong, and like that was my thing. That was it, really not very technical. But yeah, so I wanted to get into something else. Like I gained a lot of weight in my teens since I quit judo as well. So I got really big, real husky. I'd never been like super big before as well. I was like, oh God. But I hated exercising that wasn't like a sport or anything. So I got into MMA and fell in love with the jiu-jitsu and went down the jiu-jitsu route. And I was training in Swansea for a while, and then I moved to the capital city, Cardiff, in Wales, because I'm Welsh. Everyone thinks I'm English. I'm not. And my boyfriend opened his own gym in Cardiff, so my ex-boyfriend.
Okay.
Not anymore. He opened his own gym. He went under Dara as a coach, because there's not much of a jiu-jitsu scene in Wales. It's like quite small, but like you do have some good clubs, but the scene is very small.
Okay.
So he went under Dara as his coach because he didn't have anyone to grade him. And then I was training there for like a good few years. Like the start of my jiu-jitsu was basically there. And so like I would go out and train with Dara, and I was like, wow, everyone here is so good. Like when I would train at home, there's lots of good people, but they were just really big. A lot of them were quite large. So it was like, and no one was really doing what I wanted to do, which was I wanted to go to Worlds. Like I went to Nogi Worlds when I was a blue belt, and I was like, I'm going to get killed. And I actually won it. And then I won the absolute, and I was like, oh, so like I'm okay. Do you know I'm not terrible at this?
That's fucking savage.
And I didn't have a coach there or anything. And a few times I'd go out to Nogi Worlds again and Gi Worlds and the major tournaments, and I'd be on my own. And it was kind of quite disheartening. But then Dara would be there, and they'd like take me under their wing and be like, he'd start to help me and stuff and coach me. And I'd go out there and train. And it started to become, rather than me and my boyfriend going out there, it would be just me going out there. And I just wanted to really pursue it and win and be good. Like I don't really like to do things unless I'm going to be really good at them. That's kind of my attitude of things. Maybe it's not the best.
That's good.
And I'm really competitive too. So I was like, I want to be good at this. I think I can be good if I just go for it. And I was like working on the doors, you know, like
Security.
a bouncer. Yeah.
Sorry, not tonight, lad.
And like no one thought that I worked there. They just like walk in and I'd be like, no, you have to give me ID. But they would walk past, and I was working like nights and stuff, and I just didn't want to be doing that forever and just training jiu-jitsu for fun. I have like no qualifications.
Right.
Don't advise this. If you are young, go to school. I just stopped going because I was like, I want to train, and it's at the same time. So I just stopped.
What age were you when you stopped going to school?
It was like college kind of years.
Okay,
I didn't go to uni or anything.
Okay.
It's different in the UK. So it's like, it's not leaving cert, which I'm not really sure what that is.
At 16, you kind of O levels.
Yeah.
At 16.
So I finished at 16, like GCSE year, which is,
yes.
Yeah. And then I would like go back, do like a course, didn't really like it. And then the same thing, I was going to college, which is that A level kind of year. And then jiu-jitsu was on the same time, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll just miss it today and I'll go to jiu-jitsu. And then that just kept happening until the college was like, where are you? And I was like, I'm not going. Which isn't good. It was just like very narrow vision at the time, but I was like, I'll just get a job and I can work the job around that instead of, not all those things could fit in my head, like if they probably can. But I
kind of like, it's probably loads of parents going, oh my God.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't listen to me.
Like I kind of agree with that. Like I agree with, if you really like doing something, like pursue it. Whereas if you're not all in, it's probably better off trying to go to college and stuff. But if you're really into something, it's like you're only going to be this age for a click of your fingers.
Yeah.
And then next of all, you're going, whoa, where did that go? So my opinion would be, get a little job and pursue this and make enough money from this to pursue this. And then when this doesn't go, college will always be there.
That's what I was thinking as well. I can always go back, do this for a while. I think I did, when I was going to college earlier, before I started jiu-jitsu, I got offered to go and train full-time with judo. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. It wasn't so much the judo. It was like I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And then people were training in the day. They were training full-time because they would coach as well. And it was something so new, and I really wanted to do that. And I knew that I liked that lifestyle of just training. And I really, really love jiu-jitsu as well. Love still. And I just never found any, like judo was that thing that my mother put me into, and she loved it so passionately, and I did really enjoy it. And it was that first thing that I was actually ever good at, because I was really bad in school, like not like terrible as in like misbehaving, just I don't know what's going on. Like I'll be in the class like, what's happening? And I'm genuinely trying and paying attention, and I don't know what is going on. And I don't want to ask the teacher like, hey, like what are we actually learning this year? Don't know what's going on. So it was like the first thing I was ever good at. But then as I got older, like again, a lot of restrictions. I didn't have many friends because I couldn't speak very much, which you wouldn't believe now. Like people ask me questions and it'd be like yes or no.
Yeah.
And I
shy.
Crippling
that
shyness.
kind of goes with being teenager kind of.
Yeah.
We've a niece and she's just like, you see her and you say hello and she's like purple. You know, just,
embarrass you to even talk to her. It's like, oh.
Christ. So I kind of like experiencing that.
I just like reading and fighting. That was it. But yeah.
But you like judo because you got people going, wow, well done, you're
Yeah.
really good, and you got some positive
People be like,
feedback
oh, you're
from
really
it.
strong. Or,
Yeah.
oh, you're really good. And I was like, wow, like I'm good at something. That's so nice. I have confidence for once. And then in jiu-jitsu as well, because I came from that judo background, I found the same thing was kind of happening where people were like, oh, you're really strong, which now I see as an insult.
Right, yeah.
Because in jiu-jitsu, saying you're strong is an insult.
People say that to me, Jez, you're really strong, you're an electrician, I couldn't move there, and you still choked your ass out.
I'm like, yeah, that's
20-year-old. Little 20-year-old. Yeah, no, that's an insult in jiu-jitsu. Wow, you're really strong. Shut the fuck up.
It's like a secret insult. It's like, oh, you're strong, and it's like a little snide dig.
Yeah.
But at the time, like I was like, oh, like you know, it was good to get that you know, you go to something new, and I wasn't like I was still terrible. Like I was getting beaten up, which I was so confused by because I thought, wait, I did judo for so long, and now I'm getting choked. And I used to think the groundwork in judo I just would disregard it, not really bother doing it, which is hilarious now because it's my favorite part. I don't want to stand up. Let me be on the ground. Yeah. So yeah, like it was that thing where, oh my God, again, like I feel like I'm, you know, I feel when I do this, I feel like I'm smart because I feel like I'm picking things up, which I normally don't. So again, that helped me enjoy it. And now I just purely love it for what it is rather than how it makes me feel, which is nice as well.
And that, I suppose, that what you spoke about there, that positive affirmation by people going, wow, you're really good. Whereas, like, my opinion on skills, and get myself into trouble all the time, they're like murder machines for creativity.
Yeah.
That's what I think, you know. It's like, no, you have to do this and then do this and get a job and get all this fucking debt and hate your life.
Yeah, it's like the same path is carved out, and I just didn't want to get into that path and just be stuck on that road because I could just see it so clearly it was happening to me, and I knew I didn't want to do that at least, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do fully at the time, and it all just kind of unfolded quite nicely, and I got lucky in that way. But I could just see that I didn't want to do that. I could see myself just going to uni, getting a boyfriend that I probably would despise in like 10 years, marry, have a house, kids, and that's it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but like I always, like when I was younger, I was like, oh, I want to travel, I want to do this, and now like my job pre-COVID would be to travel and teach. So I was like, that's quite cool.
No, I like myself and Yvonne, like we fucked off traveling around the world and done all the things, and I'd say to people, like, we were kind of only going out, and if you can, my advice, relationship advice, if you can travel around $5 hostels in South America a night and share dorms with 20 other people, with your girlfriend or boyfriend or whoever, and still not hate them after 12 months, they're probably marriage material.
Yeah, stick with them. That bodes well.
And another one is if you can run a marathon with your wife.
Oh God, really run a marathon?
We ran a marathon together.
Yeah,
she was gonna fucking kill me at mile 6, mile 12, hated me at mile 20. I was a fucking wanker at mile 22 and then loved me at mile 26 again.
Hey.
So it's all, but stuff like that, instead of like that, just like marry somebody from your local town, get a job in the factory, and get a house and just produce then kids. That's not living. Produce kids to do the same
Pop
thing.
them out.
That's not living. It's like push kids. There's other ways of doing it. Push them
Yeah.
towards their bliss, what they're happy doing, you know.
Yeah.
It's you're not going to get go to college and get a degree and get this and get that, and then somehow you might be happy, hopefully, because I heard someone else saying it on the
You'll be
on the
financially
TV.
stable and
No, that's not. But you were getting the positive feedback from judo. Then you came across to Dara's. What do you think was different in Dara's compared to in Cardiff?
They were doing what I wanted to do, which is travel, compete against the best people. So they'd go to Europeans every year. That's what they did. They'd go to Worlds every year, like routinely as a big group. And like having a team compared to having no one there is just so much better.
Yeah.
I was at first nervous having people there because I was like, oh, like all these eyes are on me, I hate it. And then you have to quickly change that if you want to be like doing well at black belt. People are going to hopefully watch you, so you have to learn to enjoy that. But like having my team, and now I like thrive off that support. But yeah, like I think that seeing people doing what I wanted to do was inspiring. And it's not just like the level of the training, it was also that they were very positive people, very determined people. And that's not to say that they weren't in Cardiff. Everyone was working jobs. They were, they were happy where they were. And these people were doing what I wanted to do. So I feel like surrounding myself with like-minded people was the best thing for me. And I really, not to say this word too much, but thrived in that environment. And from there, like I was doing quite well at brown belt, but I wasn't competing that much. Like I would do Europeans and I'd do Worlds, and I wouldn't compete much in between, which was not a good idea because I was really, really nervous, which I still am. But I now know that you have to compete often because you have to get used to fighting people at that level, and you have to get used to those nerves. So you know it's normal when it's happening. So like I'd learned to like control my nerves. I'm always nervous. I hate when people are like, I'm not nervous, but no, I'm always terrified. But like now I know, okay, if I'm nervous, I know to do this. I know I need to put certain music on. Sometimes I don't need to listen to any music. Sometimes I need to do a yoga flow. Other times I need to have a proper scrap in the, in the warm-up area. And it's not the same routine every time, but like I know how to handle myself. I know that I'm going to be fine. I'm used to it. And yeah, like that was a massive change too. So as everyone was competing all the time because they were like going to try and qualify for World Pro, trying to get points for IBJJF and things like that. For Worlds and like Europeans, you need points at black belt. So people were doing that and they were competing often all the time just to get better. And I was like, oh, well, okay, I'm going to do the same. And I just started copying people. And Marcus was a big part of that as well. He was always competing. So I just started going with him and competing all the time. And yeah, like that helped so much. And then when I would go to the big tournaments, I was like, it just felt like those local tournaments. It didn't feel any different. Yeah. It didn't feel like, oh, this is Worlds and this is the Dublin Open. It was like the Dublin Open felt exactly the same as Worlds, which is nice. And then like started to get my best results after that as well.
And like, in order to be a killer, you have to train with them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's pretty
People who
simple.
push you. Yeah.
It's pretty simple. Like it's like if you keep turning up and training with killers, you know what? Even if you're shit, you'll be decent. You know, it rubs off, and then no matter what sport you want to do, like that rubs off on you. And instead of I just want to win me local competition, your man's going to Finland or he's going to Sweden. Yeah. Maybe. Why can't I do that?
Yeah, like why not? Like what's the reason I'm not doing this right now? And it was like you can get the money together, like you can just like do a part-time job, but do whatever you need to do to get that money together. And that's another thing. People always like, oh, like her parents must have supported her, and it's like no. Like I mean, yes, they did. If my parents listened, they did help me, as in like they're very supportive, and like if I needed money, they would send money. If I was desperate, they would do that. But as in I moved to Ireland and I had money from World Pro that I won. I got silver at World Pro that year, and I had $5,000, which is like something in euros. Math.
What's it? 126 or something to the euro. Yeah,
it's a bit of money. And I was like, I'm just going to go with that.
We'll say €4,000.
Yeah. And I was like, that'll last me a bit. Dara let me stay in the spare room. Dara's my coach, in case anyone doesn't know that. Actually, they probably don't. And he let me stay in a spare room, and then later on in his mother's house. Shout out to Belinda. And so I didn't have to worry about rent for a while. And yeah, so I could just live off that money for a bit. Then I started doing seminars. So I was like, well, I have to win things or no one wants a seminar. Yeah. And then I had to keep winning to get seminars. And when I do the seminar, I post a photo and then people are like, oh, I'll ask her to do a seminar. And that's kind of like how it would work. And I had to get one every month or starve.
It's a bugbear of mine. Like I love jiu-jitsu that much, and I see what people put into it. And then when I see them, like I know other people that do other sports, friends of mine, they're getting paid shitloads of money. Yeah. And I'm just like, for half the effort of what jiu-jitsu guys put in.
Yeah.
And it kills me a little inside, you know what I mean? So it's a tough old gig, you know. Would you like to see what, like, instead of doing seminars, what do you think? Do you think some type of world body needs to be set up to pay athletes, or what do you think? Or do you think people need to go the Gordon Ryan route? Because this is always a constant question in my brain, and I don't have any right answers.
Neither do I.
It's like, what do people need to do? Go online themselves, market themselves? I think that's maybe the way they need to do it.
I think that's the thing. I think there's partly you have to be marketable, but I don't think that there should be some sort of reward of, you're this level, you should get a reward for it. Yes. Like base value, you should be able to train. If you're winning, if you're on a world's podium, you should be fine. Yeah. You should be able to just compete as your job. In the world. Yeah. You should be able to compete on your own. You shouldn't have to do seminars. Yeah. You shouldn't have to own a gym, in my opinion. Yeah. I think if you then are very marketable, you should be extra rewarded. But there should be a base level of, if you're on that podium, you should be okay. And that's just not how it is. And I don't know, I talk to some athletes and it seems you either own your own gym, you teach at a gym, or you're traveling, like myself, traveling around teaching seminars. Or you're Gordon Ryan and you have marketed yourself very well and you make tons of money. But like, there's only so much money in jiu-jitsu at the same time. It's very difficult. Like, I personally don't like how he markets himself, because I teach kids classes, I help with kids classes, and I want to be a good example. Yes. But it does serve the sport to have a bad guy. We just need more competition for that bad guy. I mean, I'm sure he's not actually a bad guy, but puts himself as that, and that works well for him. Obviously, he has a very nice house.
He's selling.
He's selling it. There we are. He has a lovely house and car and all that. And like, that's not personally what I really want, but I'd like to be able to just train, and that be it.
Jiu-jitsu needs good guys as well. Jiu-jitsu needs good guys.
It does, and like, but they need people to be right now. There's no one really like giving him much competition, and that will get a bit like not boring, but like, oh well, Gordon's just gonna mill this guy again. So it's like, he kind of needs someone to come in and bash him, just so it's like, oh, now we need to have that rivalry, and
he's just levels.
He needs to get worse so that.
He needs to get worse.
He needs to get worse.
Stop trying. Just eat so many chicken wings and go to Wendy's and don't train and give the guys a chance. So marketing yourself, that's probably the way. But for anyone out there listening, seminars, win shit is always good. Winning competitions is
be
a good
exciting.
place.
That goes far. Like there's loads of very exciting people who are also lovely and do really well and are very exciting to watch as well. But yeah, like there is that move towards no-gi jiu-jitsu as well. Like that's another part of it, I think. But I love gi. So like I love both, but I find gi so exciting. But no one else seems to. Everyone else is like, it's boring. But I'm like, I love it.
I like no-gi. I really like no-gi. No-gi doesn't like me. Gi likes me because I just grab a hold of people and just kind of hold them and stop them doing whatever they want to do. But I just I think no-gi is a bit more exciting.
It's faster paced because there's not the grips and that'll slow you down. I like gi because I'm a female, that's not what you'd say. I'm a girl and like I like to slow it down so that I don't have this big man just sweating on me and tossing me around the room. I can get my grips, can slow them down. I can, you know, work better. Hide in my gi like a turtle. So yeah.
It's a male dominated sport mostly.
It is.
It's females breaking in, but you'll probably understand this. My wife, she trained for a while, and I remember she ring me up, gone in near tears, gone to, like, she was training some lunchtime class with like loads of men, and she's like, I sit there with some man crushing me on top. I have 3 pubes in my mouth, and I'm asking myself, who am I anymore? Who am I? What have you got me doing? And I'm like, nah, just stick at it. It gets better. It gets better. But she's like, no. And she hasn't done it since. Like, she did it for a while. And I was like, and it's kind of like, it's the male side of the sport in this country has really taken off, but the female side of it is still lagging behind a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hit and miss. Like, there's a few girls down Charlestown, but they're mostly MMA focused.
Yeah.
You know, so there's anywhere, like East Coast would be too far from here, so there's not many areas for me to say to her, go on.
Yeah, go there. Like, yeah, that's another thing as well. Like, it's interesting you said those girls have gone into MMA, because I think in MMA they do, in general, now I'm not the best educated on MMA compared to Jiu-Jitsu, but they can see a space for themselves. They market them very equally.
Yeah.
Considering they weren't even in the UFC like not that long ago.
Yeah.
And they market them very well. Whereas I find it in Jiu-Jitsu, it's kind of like, we'll put them on because these bunch over here keep complaining that there's no girls on the card, so we'll chuck one girl fight on them. We're like, oh yeah, look at them, and move on. And no one's excited about it. Like, for example, Flow, there's not one female person on the panel.
Yes.
It's just a sausage fest.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, they're not going to be as interested in female jiu-jitsu because they're male, and that's fair enough. Like, but I want to see girls. I want to see girls fight, just like guys want to see guys fight. And but like, I like watching both. But you just want to see yourself there. You want to see that, you know, that example being given to you. And when that example's not there, like, no one's really gonna pursue it. Do you mean? And another thing is like that environment, when it's a male dominant environment, you know, different, like, it can maybe not feel the most friendly to some women coming in. Like, I'm used to it because I always trained in male-dominated environments since I was a kid. Like, I loved rugby. I loved every sport that was for boys. Basically, anything my brother did, I would be like, I want to do it. And then he would quit. Like, judo was for him, and then I was like, I want to join. And then he was like, all right, I'm off. And yeah, so I'm just used to it, and I would take it for granted. And I started a women's class in Cardiff. And all the girls that joined, most of them were the girlfriends of the guys that trained.
Okay.
And some girlfriends of guys who trained at other gyms would come to that gym. And I was like, they're not going to be into it. They're girly. And like, I was like, I don't know if they're really going to be into this. And they loved it. And it was, you know, just all the girls getting together. And it was not so much like, just because they're training with girls, but like they would be paired with each other. So they would have someone their own size. Like, that's something you would take for granted. I'm used to like training with someone who's at least 10 kilos heavier. Like, someone my size is 10 kilos heavier when you pair each other up. It's like, they're your size, but it's still 10 kilos difference, which, like, whatever, like, it's made me improve better, which is cool, because you also have to deal with that extra weight. But I see that as a positive now. But like, when you're joining and you're straight away stuck under this giant man, and you're like, well, and he's either going crazy at you, or he's just like a limp dick, just letting you do it. And he's like, and he looks bored, and he's like looking at the wall, and he's like, that's just like an extra layer to jiu-jitsu's hard when you start anyway. And then it's just that extra thing of, that's even harder. And you kind of feel like when you go to a regular class, 90% guys, maybe there's another girl in that beginner's course with you. Maybe there's not, and you're the only girl, and you're kind of like, well, again, I don't see myself here. How do I feel like I fit in? Like, everyone's a guy. They kind of don't want to partner with me because there's that weird thing of, what if I go too hard? What if I go too light? They feel like they can't win, which, again, I totally empathize with. Like, I don't know what it's like to be a guy, but I'm sure that's a hard dynamic to navigate. If I go crazy, I'm an arsehole, and if I go light, I'm also an arsehole. So it's like that thing there. Balance. They don't understand jiu-jitsu yet, that, like, you know, no, technique is going to be able to help people get better and all this. Like, they don't understand as well. Maybe they've never been in that situation with a woman as well, where I'm fighting a woman. Whereas to me, that seems, that dynamic is really normal. And I'm always like a bit thrown when, like, say if I'm visiting a different gym and they start going really weird and light, and I'm like, what's going on? And then I remember that, like, that could be their first time rolling with a woman, and they just don't know how to handle that situation. And, like, you can't just expect people to be perfect all the time. You just have to be like, it's all right, mate, just go for it.
Yeah, but, like, our experience, like, Charlestown has a good few girls down there, and they're mostly doing MMA, so it's it's normal. But like you say, I remember a couple of years ago, like, there wasn't, like, when Max started doing jiu-jitsu with girls, there was fucking shitloads of them in his class.
Yeah.
And the sad thing about it is, maybe there was, over the couple of years, maybe 15 of them, not one of them was doing it anymore. Big dropout
Teenage
rate.
years.
Yes.
Oh, the teens. It's the scariest part. Don't let them get a girlfriend or boyfriend. Keep them alone. It's good if they have, like, no friends or, like, they're not attractive. That works really well. That worked well for me. I got real fat, so I wasn't popular.
Keep on doing jiu-jitsu.
Stick at it.
No, but it's... And then you were after jumping across down to Charlestown, which is great. You're coming down for the rounds and stuff, and all the boys are appreciating your high level skills in there as well, so it's a winner for everyone. What made you make that decision to dip your toe into the MMA world?
It's really
even
funny.
though you did it before, but kind of getting a bit more serious about it now.
So when I stopped MMA and I went to jiu-jitsu, the main focus was, like, I wasn't good at anything. So it's like, I was doing MMA fights when I started. I had fights, which is insane to think now, like, how let me in a cage. I was like a blue belt, but barely. It was a kind of like have a blue belt because otherwise I couldn't compete kind of situation. Like, I got it like 6 months in because I did judo, and it was like, you can't compete with the white belts, you had to do blue belt. So I was like, well, I want to compete, so pop me in, and they did. And so I was competing in MMA with average judo, not very good jiu-jitsu, and 0 striking. Like, I didn't realize how little I had until I joined Charlestown, and I was like, oh, I don't know anything. And that was quite funny. But I had 4 fights.
4 fights?
I had 4 fights.
And then
and I would just grab them.
Wins and losses? 4 wins?
4 wins, which I think there was just, like, no one competing at the time. Right. It was very early days. Yeah.
The Wild West. Yeah,
just get in. And, like, it's funny because I didn't know how, like, dangerous it was. Looking back, I'm like, that was very... It was just like grabbing Wendy off the street and putting her in a cage, really. Wow. But yeah, that was funny. And I won my fights somehow. But they were all like, I would just, like, run up to them, grab them, pull them on the ground, and then, like, either punch their head, or I remember I learnt Americana, like, the week before my fight, and then I did it, and I was like, yeah. It's like, yeah, cool. But yeah, so originally I was like, I want to get good at jiu-jitsu. I want to, put time into this. It seems like that's where I'm thriving at the moment. But with the thought that I would go back to it eventually, then I didn't realize I'd be as successful as I was in jiu-jitsu. And, like, really pursued it, and I loved it, like, still love it. But now with the pandemic and everything going on, I would watch MMA and stuff, and I'd be like, oh, I'd love to do it. And, like, I'd always get that little, like, oh, I'd love to go in and do it again and revisit everything. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'll go and do some training now, because there's no tournaments coming up for jiu-jitsu. Nothing's really happening. Yeah. And that's so depressing. Yeah. So I just needed something. Yeah. So I started going down, and I really enjoy it. And I would like to fight people.
you couldn't, like...
Well, I'm good.
With your skill level, grappling, like, you're top of the tree. So down with Owen Roddy as a striking coach, fucking the world is your oyster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The world is your oyster. They're different, as you said down there, they're different strikers. There's a
very
focus
technical
on striking down there, super technical.
That's what I noticed as well. Like, whenever I do it, when I started MMA originally, there was like there wasn't a striking coach. So it was a good start, really, isn't it? There wasn't really, like, there would be this guy who'd do pads with us. That's all I really did, was a bit of pads, to be honest. I didn't learn the way you'd learn jiu-jitsu, where it's tons of detail. And then when I started to go to Charlestown with Owen, and he was teaching in loads of detail, and I was like, I can relate this to jiu-jitsu straight away.
Yeah.
During like that's, he'd say something about like keep your hands up, and I'd be like, that's like when you're in mount and you shouldn't do this. It's like instinct to be like, no. But like that's wrong. Do you know? And it was like just like drawing parallels to it and being like, this is the same. Do you know? Like, it's, you know, I can learn it, and it just made sense to me. And what I love as well is like, what I loved about jiu-jitsu so much was the creativity, how you can do everything in grappling. And then MMA is that, only now you can also strike them. You can do pretty much anything bar gouge the eyes, which I don't want to do anyway, to be honest. Like, there's not much you can't do, and I just love that there's no boundaries to things. I like that there's more room for creativity, and I genuinely like want to learn more, and it's nice to be really bad at something again. Not that I'm, you know, there's loads of room for me to grow in jiu-jitsu, don't get me wrong. I have so much to work on. But like going into striking, and it's like, whereas now I'd visit a gym and there might be some of the girls might like recognize me and be like, oh, you know, there's Ffion who competes. Whereas like being someone and everyone's like, you're shite here, do you mean? Like basically you're the shit person, and it's nice to be the white belt and you know, learn, and that's fun. It doesn't sound like it's fun, but it is.
I suppose it's challenging yourself again. You know?
Yeah, I like that.
I bring Max down there and I see what's going on, and also maybe another benefit, you probably recognise this anyway, or maybe you don't, is the body types. There's a lot of body types down there, smaller lads for you that you can spar.
Yeah, that's good.
Which is always a bonus as well, you know. But Owen he allows you express yourself. You know what I mean? It's not like no, you have to do it this way. It's he'll
it's like ideas, like concepts almost. Actually, I love learning like that in jiu-jitsu as well, where it's like, you know, like, and it explains why we're doing something as well. That sounds so simple, but you wouldn't believe how many people don't tell you why you're doing something. It's like, just do this, and it's like, but why? And they don't really know why. Like, they're just good, but like there's so many high level jiu-jitsu people who are like that. Like, they're just amazing because they've trained since they were 5. In Brazil or like America or whatever, where you've got tons of training partners who are high level and they can't tell you why they're doing something because they're just class, and that's literally it. Whereas like when someone can tell me why I'm doing something, like I appreciate it so much, because if you show me a drill, I'll get it wrong for like the class, because I just like, if I have to do it like step for step exactly how you just showed it, my brain has exploded. I've already gone into a different world. So like when someone's like, think about, this is why I'm doing it, and like this is the idea behind it, and then you will get the drill right because you're going by the concept, so you can have a bit more room for error, but you're following the rules of the technique. That probably doesn't make any sense, but like like having rules to the technique, where it's like, okay, don't do this. You know, this is the thing you don't do. This is why you don't do it, and like this is how it. I don't know, but
maybe like that's why you find yourself where you are at the moment, because most people just do it for the sake of it, but it's like other people that question things, and I need that broken down to be shown why this works this way, and then I can get behind it then. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like an exchange of ideas, but that's what jiu-jitsu is. It's like with other martial arts, not bagging any other martial arts, but if I touch somebody on the throat, they're probably not going to die like on your YouTube videos. Whereas
maybe
when I go to jiu-jitsu, I really need to lock that up to try and strangle the person unconscious. That's going to work, and this is how you do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, use what's useful and get rid of what's useless.
Yeah, exactly. Condense it a bit more, and
step by step through. And that's why you find yourself, because you're a concept-based person. It's like, show me this. And a lot of successful people I come across are like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I need to be shown this way. I need to be shown this way so I can understand it. Whereas
I need to try it in like live training as well.
But if you look back on school, for instance, your experience in school, it's like, and this is why my whole idea of school is a murder machine, because it's like da 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 da, 2 times, 2 times, 2 times, 3 times, 3 times.
Memorizing a lot.
A lot of people don't. It's why are we doing this? What is this for? And then it's like, oh, because if you do this, you do this. But lots of teachers can't explain that.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I'm told to explain that or whatever it is.
It's what you do, and that's why the drop off rate is so high. You know what I mean? And maybe if I was speaking about this with Marcus as well, like that one good coach, that one good teacher, doesn't have to be the smartest or the best in the world, but he can explain something. Somebody said this to me years ago. When you're explaining something, even though you're talking to an adult that's 40, try and pretend you're talking to a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
And if the 3-year-old can understand it, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That kind of concept space. I find Owen like that.
Yeah.
You know,
He's a very
I do
good teacher, and I enjoy that.
Yeah. Whereas sometimes some people lose me and they're like, X-guard, and you do this and you grab that, and why? Did you just do it that way?
Just do it that way. That's the way it
They
is.
lose me.
And you're like, well,
They
what?
lose me. Yeah, and they lose me. I'm a visual type person, so I am that 3-year-old. I need stuff
Yeah.
explained
Teach
to
me like a child, and I'll be fine.
Yeah, no, I need. And so at the moment, so there's no competition. What's your least favourite things about MMA, and what's your favourite stuff about MMA?
Least favourite. Oh, well, getting punched in the face is not the best, is it? Like, could I hit them, but they don't hit me back? No, like it's not that bad getting punched in the face. That sounds terrible. It's happened a lot now. It's like at first I'm like, oh, I'm like, get out my eyes. I'm like, oh. And now I'm like, oh, it's okay. Just like, because Owen's like, put your head, and I was like, put my head down and my head in, and I got quite a large forehead. Some would call it a 5 head. And like that's quite nice because now they just bop off that. And like there's that thing of like my brain.
Yeah.
That's probably not good.
Yeah.
Probably not the best for the brain. But I'll be knocked out fast because they got little gloves.
Yeah.
And that's good for the brain apparently.
Yeah.
So that's probably not the good bits.
No, CTE.
CTE, yeah. But I'll worry about that when I'm older.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Just
fine.
means you'll develop Alzheimer's quicker, so you won't
Exactly,
really know what's
and I
going
have
on
the
anyway.
genes for it. So all good. I got
Yeah.
that 23andMe done.
Do you know what cuts down on Alzheimer's? Do you know what cuts down on Alzheimer's?
No.
Getting in the cold Irish Sea.
Oh God.
Cold water swimming cuts down on Alzheimer's. There you go. You
Love
heard
to
it
have a
here
dip.
from the Straight Talking podcast.
And saunas, isn't it?
Saunas, yeah, and the triggers them.
There we go. I could do those. Maybe not the
Omega
sea.
trees.
Maybe a lot of fish.
Omega trees.
Yeah.
But the CTE, yeah, that's getting punched in the face is never
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Try and avoid it. Bit of Khabib style. Just
Yeah.
learn to dodge. I'll learn to dodge and hopefully that's all right.
And do you do any wrestling out in East
That's
Coast?
the thing as well. I need to work on wrestling a lot because on the ground I feel confident and it's that like link to
Scramble.
getting there. Yeah, like I how quite get scrambly style.
Right.
Maybe it's my lack of drills. But yeah, like I really like wrestling. I started with judo, but I like wrestling, but I just feel like there's not like much or many people wrestling in Ireland, but there is a gym. Sergei's, yeah.
You'd be Sergei'd be more than welcome to have you down there. Sergei's cool.
Marcus does a private with Roman and Hannah.
Yes.
And I'm like really scared because they're not, they're going to be 15 and not that long. 6 years. I got 6 years until they're going to kill me.
Hannah is a murderer.
That's what I mean.
She's a murderer. John teaches
so
the
cool.
kids class. So Max does privates wrestling with Hannah.
Yeah.
So Hannah went up to Charlestown to John's kids class. He goes, John was saying to me, he didn't know that I knew and he didn't know that Max is teaching privates. He goes, this little fucking girl came into the class. She fucked up everyone. And she walked in a pair of wrestling boots. And him and Clinton were going, where'd you get them from?
Yeah.
She proceeds to fuck up all the kids in the whole class. And then he comes down to do a podcast and Max is teaching her. And the door opens and he sees Maxine teaching Hannah and he goes, that's where it's coming from. She's a murderer.
Yeah. I got 6 years to prep before she comes in and absolutely kills me. So maybe less, probably. Actually, probably less.
Sergey's is Tuesday, or it's kind of changed now. It's Mondays, it's Wednesdays and Fridays, 7:00. But the Friday is the good one. And they just, what I like about wrestling, and I look at it loads, is in the classes, so the class will be 2 hours, 2 positions, over and over and over. So you're probably done the one position maybe 50 times.
Yeah.
And they just, it's not like, yeah, do that, let's roll. It's over and over and over and over. And that's why, if you've seen Hannah or any of the other kids, that they don't compete jiu-jitsu, they just wrestle, that they're so sharp at it, you know, just a couple of positions, you know.
Yeah, I definitely need to do the wrestling, because I like to learn things like, well, I want to do it like jiu-jitsu, learn that purely jiu-jitsu, not just take the bits and put it in MMA and make this like makeshift game, like learn striking, learn it purely, like everything. Like you wouldn't just take little bits like, I'm just going to do a jab and then shoot. Like maybe that's what you do in the fight. Yeah. But like, that's probably not the best idea, because what if you can't jab and shoot? What if that fails and then you're stuck on the feet? Yeah. And like for wrestling too, like I'd like to learn it like with my little boot. I've got wrestling boots now as well.
There you go.
Because I was just using them for doing the striking, because my toes are in bits. But I've got boots, people, so that's half the battle.
Most jiu-jitsu people that own boots is like, yeah, I broke my toe.
Yeah. Oh my God, I stamped my toe. I've got like turf toe, and it's never gotten better since. It's just in bits. Yeah, it hurts so much.
But Sergey would love to have you down, because he's so open to other people coming in, and he loves people coming down. So
if I just fall to the ground,
get on to him. I'll send on this podcast to him. Get on to him, because he loves people down, and especially high level athletes. He loves them.
Jiu-jitsu athletes aren't. Well, some are.
Carvalho
they're on steroids,
but Pedro Carvalho trains down there. He just thought he lost in Bellator, but he fought on Thursday night. Patricky Pitbull. Yeah. He fought him. It was for the featherweight belt, wasn't it? Featherweight belt. So you get some high level guys, but they're all good.
Yeah.
They're all good, you know. They're all nice, all welcoming. People, wrestling mat is different. I always find it's I like the way a lot of guys down there are Moldovan. It's all the handshakes before you start. How are you? And it's all it's nice. Yeah. It's nice. You don't see it anywhere else. It's kind of, everyone goes into their little groups where they come in and shake everyone's hand. And
that's the East Coast like that too. We did the everyone handshake. You start, and then like if you come in late, there's like 30 people there, so you got to shake them. Not anymore because of COVID. Just to say, this was before COVID. Because I'm like, oh my God.
You shake each other with masks on.
Yeah, we've got masks. Hand sanitizer. But like you'll shake everyone's hand, and if you have to get there early, because then you just shake like 4 people's hand. But if you get there like at the end, like right before class, you got to shake like 30 people's hands. You don't have to do it, but like it just, you start, and then you're like, oh my God. Yeah. Going around. I used to go, when I teach a seminar, I'd like start shaking everyone's hand, and I'm like, oh my God, there's this never ending sea of people, and you're like, I regret this now. It should have just been a nice wave, and then
see us.
Bye, thanks. Just shaking everyone's hand.
But a good few of the guys from Charlestown come down. They come down as well, and he loves having them down. But you get all these guys just straight wrestlers, so it's all attacking single legs. There's no mad power doubles. It's all that kind of Russian style, which I like, in close and single legs, and you'd like it in judo, trips, and a lot of them do judo. A lot of guys do judo as well. Yeah. You know,
that's the thing I love, like upper body clinching, and then shooting. I'm just like like a wet noodle, just collapse, and they just sprawl on my head, and I'm like, play guard. So I need to improve that a lot. Like, I don't know what that is.
That can be a default position from jiu-jitsu people that go into MMA. It's just like, I'm comfortable here and just sitting on the back.
Probably not the best idea. And I get up.
Oh, please don't.
I'm like, it's fine, play guard.
I know you've eaten a few shots, but please don't stay there.
Yeah, get up.
No, it's not good. It's not good. But anyway, we'll wrap her up.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's all good. It's great to have you. And give Ffion a follow. Check out our stuff. Any girls, this is who you want to look up to, making waves in the grappling scene, and hopefully making waves in the MMA.
We hope.
Under the East Coast Charlestown. I fingers crossed. she's Welsh, but we're claiming her because she trains in East Coast. So basically, she's from Dublin. So we're stealing her. We stole loads of people from the UK for our Irish football teams over the years. So we're gonna
better Irish than English. Oh, sorry. Don't repeat.
I ask Marcus this, and I've started to ask people this, our guests. One tip to a female starting off in jiu-jitsu, to my wife downstairs, or any young females that are kind of, I might start, or I'm not really feeling it. What advice would you give them?
For start, like you want to start or you have started?
Or they want to start.
You want to start. Because it's been like the best thing ever for my confidence. I don't have to, I feel like a lot of women have had to worry, like, you know, if you go out late at night, not that I say, oh, that sounds really bad, but like it's not something I've ever had to worry about. And that sounds really bad. I don't mean if someone comes out at me with a knife, that's going to be problematic. Yeah, I'm not saying you can beat someone with a knife. But like I've never, like I worked on the doors, for example, and it's so easy to control someone when you know jiu-jitsu. Just able to control their hands. You can keep yourself safe from getting hit. You can disengage and run away. It just makes everything like that so much easier. And it's never been anything that I've ever had to worry about in a serious way. Like, and I'm really grateful for that because of jiu-jitsu. And another thing, not just self-defense, which I mean, we always say, women, you need to defend yourself. So do lads. They're pretty fucking helpless as well, let's be honest. Especially the weedy ones. Yeah. But it's not just that as well. Like, it's like that thing that's like, I love superheroes and like Dragon Ball Z. And I always liken being able to do jiu-jitsu to feeling like a superhero. Yeah. And I literally, you know, I feel like I can really protect myself and it's really fun. So you should train.
That is like,
it's just fun as well.
I know like loads of girlfriends growing up and stuff like that, and that you've said that, it kind of made me think. I know 2 girls that were raped, and that basically changed their lives. Mm-hmm. You know, by that happening to them. So, I think like with jiu-jitsu, like you can read people. You're looking at someone coming towards you on a mat. Yeah. You can kind of, because you're doing it that much, you can read people. Now, if you've a few drinks on, you can't read anyone, but you can see what people's intentions are from jiu-jitsu or from combat sports. You see which way they're coming at you, so you can fucking run away. You can protect yourself. You can do whatever. So I suppose that's a good.
Like I didn't used to speak to people. I had no confidence, and now like my job would be, you know, competing in front of lots of people who are watching you with cameras and and you have to thrive in that environment. So like I'd never been able to do that before, and now it's just like that's just fine, like that's normal. And then teaching people, so public speaking, which again never thought I'd be able to do ever, and like jiu-jitsu's really just given me that confidence that I can apply to pretty much anything. And I know that's a common thing that people say, but it's so true that like if you can get sweat in your eyes and pinned and fought by like different people all the time, or just fighting people, and they can be way bigger than you, and if you can overcome that, or like just be able to do that every day, even if you're beating no one, like that's going to make you a pretty resilient person in general, I think. So you meet lots of different people too.
I think that's what you said there. That's where jiu-jitsu comes into its own, because that little inner voice in your head is saying, oh, you're shit, don't go tonight, you're shit, stay
but you are shit and you'll never be good. You will never be good at jiu-jitsu. You'll never feel like you're good at jiu-jitsu. I feel like I'm absolutely terrible, and you'll talk to the best person in the world and they'll be like, yeah, I'm terrible at jiu-jitsu. And that's what's good about it. So when you feel crap as a white belt, you will always be crap. But that's the best thing. It's so like liberating to be like, I'm free of any pressure, because I'll never feel good at it. And just, you know what? I don't need to be good at it. I can just enjoy it for what it is. Yeah. Rolling around, having a tussle with my friends, injury free, anything hurts, just tap. Do you mean like, it's so good. And hugging people is really good for you. Yeah. Even if it's a violent hug. It endorphins. Yeah. People of different cultures. Do you mean people you hanging out with someone who's like 60 and you're 20 and you're having a good chat, like rather than just being around your pisshead friends who are like, come to the club. Dream.
We like, it's when I start doing jiu-jitsu, like the conversation, whereas you hear the conversation now, it's like blokes saying, yeah, I'm really into Carl Jung at the moment and he has a flag, and you're like, what the fuck? It's like jiu-jitsu mats are like a master's in philosophy. When you think about it,
Yeah.
it's like you're getting absolutely humbled, smashed all the time. There's nobody going, oh, here's a diploma, you're amazing.
Yeah.
It's like you're walking off a question and everything, and you turn up again the next night. And what you said there about the endorphins, like when you put hands on people or when you shake people's hand, there's receptors in your brain that naturally fire the endorphins. And
Yeah.
like if you help someone going, well, you see the way I choked you there with your collar, maybe putting your hand there across it is not a good idea. And then they produce more endorphins because you're after helping them with something. You know? So, and then you have to think as well, there's some people in relationships or jobs or whatever that they just fucking hate.
Yeah.
And they get an hour and a half, you know.
To escape their partners.
To escape their
Jobs,
partners
kids.
or their jobs or their kids or, you know, just an hour and a half for them just to think about things, you know, to get a new head screwed onto them or strangled off them.
Not strangled off them.
Anyway, that is it.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks
Sorry.
for having you on. Wish you all the success.
Thank you.
Once this flu goes ahead, I'm going to get into trouble for that.
Oh,
that
yeah.
flu fucks off. That bad flu that's gone around fucks off. But wish you all the success in MMA, and thanks a million for doing the podcast. And go back, anyone listen to this podcast, we've 23 other ones for you to listen to.
There we go.
Of people from all different genres and everything, so give them a listen. Thanks a million. Yuuuup.